Good morning and welcome to the Planning Officer's hearing for June 6, 2012. My name is Eric Krause and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. We have one CUP case today and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Excuse me. The hearing procedures will be as follows. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if four required findings are present. For applications involving the sales, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages, there are also 5 criteria that shall be considered in making the 4 required findings for granting a CUP. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices which were mailed to the property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. I will read the description of the application requested. The case planner will give a brief overview of the case, giving analysis and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support or in opposition of the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. And lastly, the applicant will be given an opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to the testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case will be taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who have responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Permit Services Center located on the same floor in room 101 of this building. If you wish to speak, please write down your name and address on one of the speaker forms which have been provided by the front door and submitted to our planning assistant. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the hearing are being recorded as part of the public record. Our first case today is CUP case number 1207586. It's located at 2217 Honolulu Avenue. The applicant is Janelle Williams and the property owner is Jeff Williams. The case planner is Chris Baxter. The project is an application for a conditional use permit to continue to provide on-site beer and wine sales, service, and consumption at a full-service restaurant, the Star Cafe, located at 2217 Honolulu Avenue in the CR Commercial Retail Zone, described as portions of Lot 71 and 72 of Tract 1701. May I have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mr. Krause. Just a brief overview of the project. As you see on the plans behind you and on our screens for the visual, the property is a 2,250 square foot site. There's a 1,550 square foot restaurant and a 735 square foot covered patio at the rear. The restaurant is at the ground level directly off of Honolulu, and then the patio is raised a few steps up behind it. The restaurant use has been operating at this site since November of 1966, so there's a long established history of that restaurant here. Star Cafe has been around since September of 1989 according to our records. Also in that year, a conditional use permit was granted for the Star Cafe to provide beer and wine sales and consumption. The hours of operation are listed in the report as 9 to 11 on Monday, Saturdays, and Sundays, and 11 to 11 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The most recent conditional use permit was granted April of 2002, and the reason the applicant is back is because we place expiration dates on conditional use permits, and so 2012 is the year that it expires, and the applicant's here to renew it. The staff reviewed the applicant's argument, which is that the Star Cafe is a recognized land use operating as a restaurant serving alcoholic beer and wine for a number of years and has been a good neighbor to the community. The one issue regarding parking is not an issue as far as the planning department is concerned because there's a 308 parking space, a lot owned by the city behind it, which serves that entire Montrose community in that neighborhood. You can see that on the visuals over here. And the staff concurs with the applicant's arguments that the business should be allowed to renew its beer and wine sales, service, and consumption. And we feel that the request is consistent with the general plan. We feel that it is not detrimental to the community. We do not feel it would be adversely conflicting with any of the community's normal development in this area. And the area does provide public and private facilities, such as utilities and landscaping, including the parking lot that I just mentioned. So we feel that it can meet the four findings. In addition, we feel that the applicant meets the additional findings required for alcohol sales, and we've made our case in the attached findings in the staff report. So we are recommending approval with conditions, and there's 16 conditions, and we've even made a condition request for the hearing officer to consider a 10-year period for the next CUP renewal request. That pretty much ends my overview, and I can go into more detail if you wish. And the applicants here, they can also argue the case as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baxter. Can I have the applicant come forward, please? You have 15 minutes to present your case. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Kraus. My name is Janelle Williams, Williams Land Use Services. My office is at 2418 Honolulu Avenue in Montrose, right down the street from the Star Cafe. It's a very small establishment, but in the community of Montrose, it's huge. It's an icon there. It's been there for 23 years as the Star Cafe, and it's pretty much become a staple of the Montrose community, and we love it. Thank you, Chris, also for the staff report. There really isn't nothing has changed since the last conditional use permit. I will go through the findings and answer any questions you may have. The proposed use is consistent with the various elements of the general plan. The existing full-service restaurant with the rear patio and outdoor dining in front is a permitted use in the CR commercial retail zone with the proper permits. Finding number 2, and I'm just giving an overview of the findings. The expanded findings are in the staff report. It's a long-standing establishment with a history of good business management practices over 23 years, and they have proven themselves. There have been absolutely no police calls of any kind related to alcoholic beverages. I saw the departmental comments from the police department. I guess there was one call. 2 patrons were having a disagreement, but there was no alcohol involved. Why will the proposed use and facilities not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses? With the renewal of this CUP, there will be no added ABC licenses in the area because the Star Cafe holds one of the existing licenses. There has, as Chris said, there's been a restaurant at the site for over 45 years now. And the current owner has operated since 1989. The restaurant is well situated with respect to other facilities, has not adversely impacted any existing facilities, property values, or any development in the surrounding area. Number 4, the structure, the parking, streets, and utilities are all existing and adequate. For the restaurant operation, no changes are proposed nor have taken place, so the adequacy of the infrastructure will not be affected by this application. All the structures on the premises are permitted and legal, and parking has always been utilized in the street or in the 308 parking space lot right behind the restaurant. The structure is properly accommodated and located on the site, and the parking that's provided was provided expressly for the Montrose Shopping Park. This establishment holds a Type 41 ABC license, which allows the consumption and sales of beer and wine in a bona fide eating establishment. Again, this renewal will not intensify the saturation of any licenses in the area. As far as the crime statistics go, the existence of a full-service restaurant serving alcoholic beverages does not typically tend to intensify any crime in the area. As long as it's a full-service restaurant, people have an alcoholic beverage with their meal and go home, typically. The development and support of a vibrant local spot such as the Star Cafe actually discourages loitering in the area, encourages more pedestrian and business patrons. And the police department records will show that the Star Cafe in particular has had no calls for service. Additionally, it maintains a consistent A rating with the County Department of Health. As far as sensitive uses in the area, none of the sensitive uses exist within a 500-foot radius of the Star Cafe, such as daycare facilities, public parks, libraries, hospitals, that sort of thing. Number 4, adequate parking and loading facilities. I think we touched on the 308 parking spaces in the rear. Okay, that's that. And number 5, notwithstanding the consideration of the above criteria, how will the proposed use serve a public necessity or a public convenience for the area? The proprietor's long-term record as a good business neighbor has been established for a period of 23 years, and even before that, the location itself just lends itself to just good community relations. And in the Montrose Shopping Park in particular, it has become an icon. It's become a meeting place for business lunches and just, even kids out of school, family dinners. And I just think while so many businesses are unfortunately shuttering their doors, this is one business that we really need to stand by and support, as well as all the businesses, in particular in the Montrose Shopping Park, but everywhere in our community. So anything we can do to help support our local businesses and restaurants, I think we should do that. And I know Chris has suggested a 10-year approval. Given the history of this restaurant, I would ask you to consider a 15 or 20-year period of renewal. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have as well, Mr. Kraus.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I had one of the questions that came to mind is
Yes.
you do have some outdoor dining that's in the front of the building. Now, so in that area, there's no alcohol that's permitted there, or do you serve alcohol on the patio?
We do.
You do, okay. Because the only thing, I was looking at some of the conditions on here, and one of the conditions that's being recommended is number 6. It says the sale and service of beer and wine shall be consumed on the premises only. So I'm not sure if that's something that needs to be amended, or if that.
I don't.
I can, if I may,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Kraus,
The
Mrs.
reason
Williams, that was a carryover from the previous one, so I'm not sure whether there was outdoor dining in the previous one, and I've noticed that there was 3 other CUPs, and I think it was just a carryover, so that's
Okay.
actually a good point to
Yeah.
see whether we want to do that or not.
Maybe revise it to say that the sale and serving of beer and wine shall be for consumption in the areas indicated in the application.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that
And
one.
on the
I think that one
plans.
needs to be modified. Though.
Okay.
And so so you've reviewed all the conditions, and the only one you were really addressing was the extension time period, right?
The
Or
extension of the time
valid-
period, and
so-
I think that's it.
And if this,
That's it. I mean, they don't have,
just a little
entertainment.
The number 3. Look at number 3 up there. Just make sure you have no problem with looking
obtaining
at
a sidewalk dining permit. They're in the process of getting that
that.
now.
Right, because they have to do.
They had actually applied for it several months ago,
Right,
and
right.
somehow it fell through the cracks, and
Right.
it was never issued.
But they're working on it. There's no issue here. It's just, I just want to make sure you're okay
Yeah.
with that. Okay.
We realize that we have to have an outdoor
I
dining
think that
permit.
was just the only, I think pretty much I transferred a lot of the existing conditions from previous ones here. I don't believe there's anything really new here.
Well, that was the only one that really came to my mind that might be not work for
That's a fair
the way it's
point.
currently operating. So.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I don't have any other questions at this time,
all right.
and the only speaker card I have is from the applicant, so I don't see any other speaker cards at this point. So is there anything else you'd like to add before I close the hearing?
No, I just thank you for everything. Thank you, Chris, for a great staff report.
All right, so thank you very much, and I would
I'm
like...
available, I mean, after the hearing, should you want to call and if you have any more questions, please call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this case will be taken under submission. We'll be preparing my decision within the next few days then, okay? So this hearing is officially closed, and thank you for coming.